The 9th commandment, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. The nature of lies, the sin that kills truth. The 9th commandment states, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Lying is, at its core, an act of killing truth. A lie distorts reality by presenting something false as if it were true. In doing so, it first kills the truth in the heart before it is even spoken. Truth refers to events that have actually happened, or circumstances that presently exist, whether it pertains to an event, a situation, or a condition. Truth is objective reality. However, lying seeks to erase this truth from the heart, replacing it with deception. A neighbor, in biblical terms, refers to those with whom we share life. Because we share life, we also share interconnected relationships and interests. This means that what happens to my neighbor ultimately affects me as well. God commands us not to bear false witness against our neighbor, emphasizing the deep relational impact of dishonesty. False witness specifically refers to the act of testifying falsely in a legal setting. Among the many forms of lying, this is highlighted because of its deliberate and destructive intent. To give false testimony against a neighbor is not only a lie, but a calculated act that can destroy a person's life, distort justice, and undermine the moral fabric of society. It represents the most extreme form of lying, encompassing all other sins related to falsehood. The origin of lies: avoiding truth. Our lives are fundamentally built upon facts, actual events, circumstances, and experiences that have taken place or are currently unfolding. Whether directly or indirectly, all facts exist under the sovereignty of God. Some events occur by God's direct intervention, while others, like Job's trials, are permitted indirectly. God, in His wisdom, may allow even human wickedness or Satan's schemes to unfold within the boundaries of His ultimate plan. Regardless of how they come to pass, all facts exist because God has allowed them to exist. However, when a person's heart remains rooted in the world rather than in God, an inevitable tendency arises: the avoidance of truth. If my heart is unwilling to accept the reality that God has allowed, I will seek ways to escape it. This avoidance leads to distortion, alteration, and fabrication, ultimately producing falsehoods. Lying is the act of killing truth. Lying, at its essence, is an attempt to erase reality. Just as murder kills the body, lying kills truth. Both murder and lying stem from internal conflict, caused by self-centered desires clashing with reality. However, while murder is a conflict with people, lying is a conflict with facts. When the heart pursues its own version of goodness and reality does not align with it, the temptation arises to alter or suppress the truth. This is how lies are born. A lie does not exist independently. It requires the death of truth to come into existence. Every falsehood replaces a fact that must first be silenced or denied. Lying is an act of denying reality. Every fact that fills our lives, whether from the past or the present, exists under God's sovereignty. However, when a person's heart is entangled in worldly concerns, reality can feel unpleasant, undesirable, or even unbearable. Every word or action that stems from a rejection of reality belongs to the lineage of lies. Even if a person does not explicitly tell a lie, any speech or behavior that seeks to reject or alter reality is rooted in the DNA of falsehood. For instance, imagine a politician who lies about their place of birth to enhance their chances of career success. The root of this deception is their discontent with their past and an unwillingness to embrace their true identity. This type of dishonesty is not limited to politicians. It is a struggle we all face. Unresolved personal conflicts, financial hardships that seem endless, a spouse who does not meet expectations, children who fall short of hopes and ambitions, a family situation shaped by difficult conditions, physical appearance or abilities that feel inadequate, a chronic illness that seems to have no end. When faced with such circumstances, a heart that remains fixated on the world will inevitably feel frustration, resentment, and despair. From this state of discontent, falsehood is born. The common thread in all lies, denial of truth. Every sin within the lineage of lying shares a common characteristic: the rejection of reality. This can also be described as a denial of truth. Whenever the heart remains entangled in worldly concerns, it instinctively resists reality. Speech and behavior that arise from this resistance naturally align with falsehood. I cannot accept my current situation. I hate the circumstances I've been placed in. I wish my past were different. Lies are the product of this denial of truth. Embracing God's sovereignty. Lying is not merely an ethical failing, it is a rejection of God's sovereignty, a denial of reality, and an attempt to erase truth. The only way to break free from the lineage of lies is for our hearts to turn away from the world and ascend toward God. We must be crucified with Christ. We must clothe ourselves in His resurrection. We must embrace reality as God has ordained it. The 9th commandment, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor," is not just about avoiding perjury. It calls us to live in truth, to reject deception in all its forms, and to align our hearts with the reality that God has sovereignly established. To lie is to kill truth, but to embrace truth is to acknowledge God's authority and live in the light of His will. Only when we stop resisting reality and accept all things under God's sovereign hand can we truly obey this commandment.